IDE Psych. How are you guys? Hope you're well. Hope those of you that saw me lifting my mug in reference to Tom Ritchie got a little kick out of that. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. It's Friday, March 27th. Hope you guys are well, and we're in quarantine week 2. So you should be here in Schoology. We'll jump in there, and we can see Wednesday. Ooh, we had a lot of work for Wednesday, and I'm not adding to your workload. So let's take a look at Friday. We're going to talk about basic strategies of human thinking today. Problem solving, basically. And as you can see, it just says we've got a lecture and notes, and to please take notes. The really cool thing about this whole online thing is you can pause me and then unpause me. So if I'm going too fast, just pause and then unpause me. So that's kind of cool. We do have our To Think packet with our groups and our brain teasers. I'm not adding to that load. That's due on Saturday, March 28th at 11:59 p.m. I do have an opportunity for you guys to earn a little extra credit for this week. So if you've missed me throwing around those animals, right here is an extra credit opportunity for you. And then below here will be this lecture. But since I'm currently recording it, that's why it's not there right now. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We are starting a brand new unit, Thinking, Language, and Intelligence. The unit organizer is up on that. If you haven't seen that, then make sure to do that. Remember that we are doing an e-reader's notebook, so you're just doing it on a Word document or whatever this time around. The uncertainty of whether or not we will be back anytime soon in school. But anyways, that's a whole other subject. Let's go ahead and talk about thinking, language, and intelligence. We're going to focus in on thinking today. We're specifically focusing in on problem-solving strategies. We will, on Monday, do another lecture and note series, probably no other assignment involved, and talk about problem-solving obstacles. So that's kind of where we're headed. We won't be getting to language and intelligence until a little bit later on. Those are 2 subunits that we'll talk about separate from thinking later on in the next week or 2. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Thinking. So thinking, what is it? Well, let's get this down in terms of a definition. It's mental activity involved in understanding, processing, and communicating information. It is a process. Thinking is a process, and we can be thinking at any one of the levels of the thinking process. So for instance, just you watching this video and understanding what I am saying, that is thinking. You processing this information, you relating it to your life, that's thinking. You communicating it. If I have you guys write a reader's notebook on some of these things, then you're communicating it. So understanding, processing, communicating information is all part of thinking. We've studied thinking before. We've studied the cognitive psychology before with memory, if you remember. Okay. If you remember. But anyway, we've talked about sensory memory. We talked about working memory. We've talked about long-term memory. That's all the cognitive psychologists. And in addition to memory, they look at thinking and how the mind does that. So we're going back to those cognitive psychologists. So we're going to talk about some problem-solving strategies today. And the first one I want to talk to you guys are algorithms. So for those of you that are computer programming types of people, you've heard of the term algorithm before. You program a computer to run an algorithm. And this is why computers are so much more advanced than the human brain. It's because they can run algorithms in, seconds versus the human brain. It's going to take longer. Let's give you, for instance, an algorithm is a systematic step-by-step problem-solving strategy guaranteed to provide a solution. Okay. So let's say I have my keys here and I say to Cheyenne, I left a book in Miss Vasquez's class. Will you run and get that book? But her door's locked. Okay. She's not there. So Cheyenne runs down to Miss Vasquez's room and realizes, oh no, I forgot to ask her which key is it. So instead of coming back up, Cheyenne may use an algorithm. a step-by-step process in order to get to the solution. What does she do? Well, she tries every single key until she gets the right one, until she gets the one that unlocks the door. That's an algorithm. It's going to guarantee the solution. As long as the key is on that ring, it's going to guarantee the solution that she will be able to open the door. That's an algorithm. But if you're looking at that key ring, you're like, that is going to take a lot more time than what Cheyenne wants to spend in terms of trying to get this book and what I'm waiting for her to come back. Okay. So Cheyenne may instead use a heuristic. Okay. Let's take a whole new scenario with heuristics. Let's say that I say to Donovan, I left my book in my car. It's in the back parking lot. And so he runs out there. Thank you, Donovan, for being such a hustler. But he runs out there and he realizes that on my keychain, I have 2 car keys because I have 2 cars. And so both of my cars are Toyotas. So he doesn't know which one opens my car. And for that matter, he doesn't even know which one I drove for the day. I could have driven the truck. I could have driven the Corolla. So he uses a heuristic. He uses a problem-solving strategy, a rule of thumb that allows one to make judgments that are quick, but it could lead to an error. Okay. So for instance here, let's say Donovan says, all right, I'm going to use a heuristic. I'm going to press the alarm for Mr. Bear's car. And if I hear the alarm going off, that's the car that I need to go to. So he presses the alarm. Nothing. Well, that's because he pressed the alarm to the truck. And the truck is parked on the front parking lot where Mr. Dupree had driven it. Okay. So if he doesn't hear anything, that heuristic didn't work. Now, Donovan can now maybe use the other key and press that one. And if he presses the Corolla one, maybe he hears the beeping and he goes and gets the book. But little did Donovan know is unfortunately my battery only has about a range of about 100 feet right now because it's old, because I'm driving a 2009 Corolla. So his heuristic wouldn't work. He'd have to walk around the parking lot pressing that alarm and hope he's within 100 feet to get into that range. Okay. So that heuristic may or may not work. It's definitely something that will lessen his time if that heuristic works. But if it doesn't work, then we got a problem. So these are 2 problem-solving types of strategies that we use. Okay. Algorithms and heuristics. Let's go next to the 2 types of heuristics. So to complicate this further, we have 2 types of heuristics that we can use. All right. So these are subtypes of heuristics. I'm going to give you the example here. Okay. So we know that a heuristic is a shortcut, but it can be prone to errors. All right. So let's say we have 2 options here. This is Joel. Joel has offered to babysit your children. And this is Franny Nanny. Franny has offered to babysit your children. Okay. Your answer to who gets to babysit your children is likely going to be based on a heuristic. Okay. Which type of heuristic? It depends. Let's talk about our first type of heuristic. All right. So let's talk about availability heuristics. Availability heuristics are estimating the likelihood of events based on their availability in our memory. Maybe we have recently read an article about how men are definitely less nurturing than women, and that as men age, they become even less nurturing and women become more nurturing. Let's say we read some crazy article like that, okay? We might use this availability heuristic based on what we remember in terms of information to decide who gets to babysit our child, Joel or Franny the nanny. Based on our availability heuristic, we might end up going with Franny the nanny because we read that women become more nurturing to children as they age. So we choose Franny the nanny, okay, based on our availability heuristic, information that we've learned, all right? Or And actually, let me give you another example of availability heuristics. We do this a lot, except this example is a little bit weird because of the situation we're in. Disease kills more people than accidents. It's been shown that people will judge accidents and diseases to be equally as fatal. This is because accidents are more dramatic. They're in the television news more, they're in the papers more, they're on social media more, and they are more available in our memory than disease. But the number one killer of in the United States today is heart disease. Yet we will somehow think that accidents are more deadly. Okay, that's an availability heuristic, just like we've judged Fanny the nanny to be a better babysitter than Joel. Okay, now let's go back to Franny and Joel here. So let's say we don't even use an availability heuristic. Let's say we use a representative heuristic, our stereotype. Okay, this is what we do a lot in social psychology. We stereotype people, we group people. All right. So this is a rule of thumb for judging the likelihood of things in terms of how well they match a prototype. All right. We just learned about prototypes, how well they match a prototype. So again, let's go back here. If we're looking at who to get to babysit, last time I saw a guy look like this, I was at a concert and he was in a mosh pit and he was stepping all over everybody. Not really sure if I want that guy babysitting my kids. And last time I saw a woman like this is my grandma. Love her. She's really good with kids. So based on my representative heuristic, I may go with Franny the nanny. Okay. Now, our heuristics could be wrong. Joel could be an amazing babysitter. Maybe he's awesome with kids. Okay. And maybe Franny, she's cranky and hates kids. And, the minute they do anything wrong, she's like smacking them. Okay. So again, it can cause us to ignore important information. And that's why we tend to do these stereotypes, and that can be very bad and lead to repercussions. All right. Here's my other example. Taking a look at this lady here. Below is Linda. She loves books. She hates loud noises. Is Linda a librarian or beautician? Okay. Based on a representative heuristic, she definitely looks more like a librarian. I mean, her hair is not well done. She just threw it up. But, maybe Linda really is a beautician. We don't know that. So when we use those representative heuristics, whenever we use any kind of heuristic, we have to be very careful with those types of things, okay? Because it can lead to errors. Whereas an algorithm is going to give us a surefire answer because it's going to go through every single possibility. Our minds don't work very well in algorithms. It takes us too long to do that, whereas a computer can do it like that. Okay. All right, a couple other problem solving strategies. Insight and incubation. So insight, this is when you have a sudden realization to the solution of a problem. All of a sudden the light bulb switches on above your head and you're like, I got it. I say this a lot in my 4th hour. Caitlin and Jocelyn come in and they work on calculus. And they'll be working and frustrated, and all of a sudden somebody will go, I got it. Okay. Sometimes I see people do incubation, which I think is a great strategy that you need to remember. That you're frustrated working on something, and so you get so stuck and so frustrated. And the best thing for you to do is just walk away. Go grab a snack. Go do something else for a while. Go run. And what might happen is once you've incubated that problem, put it away for a little bit, the solution may suddenly arise, and all of a sudden you'll have insight. So oftentimes, insight and incubation tend to go hand in hand. We could be at a movie theater and the whole time be going, where have I seen that actor before? Leave it alone, go with friends after the movie, have a go and eat somewhere, okay, go have a hamburger, and then all of a sudden while you're eating the hamburger, just go, oh, I know where he's from, okay? That's like the tip of the tongue phenomenon, but it's not on the tip of our tongue. It just needed to be incubated, okay? Let me give you an example of insight. So I'm going to do a couple of challenges throughout these lectures. So here we have, sadly, what looks like Olympic rings. If you haven't heard, the Olympics for 2020 are canceled. So we take these rings here and we have a problem. Newt is given 4 pieces of a chain, each made up of 3 links. The task is to link up to a closed loop, and he has only 15 cents. So we want to make this one big necklace is what we want to do. To open a link, though, it costs 2 cents. To close a link, it costs 3 cents. What should Newt do? So he has 15 cents. He needs to try and make one big chain. Okay, what should Newt do? So pause this video if you're up for a challenge. If you have a little growth mindset and want to give yourself a challenge, pause this video and think about it. All right, once you've given it a time or you think you've got the solution, let's go ahead and click into it, and it should show us the solution. Okay, so right here would be our solution. We open up each of the red links. That's going to cost us 2 cents. And to close the link, it costs us 3 cents. So we open up each red link, connect each of the other colors, blue, yellow, and green, and close the red links, and we've spent our 15 cents. Okay. It's possible if you took the time, you may have had insight. It's possible that if you had taken the time and got frustrated with it, and then walked away from this, you may have gotten this. That would be incubation. Okay. All right, let's go back to our presentation. And let's move on to our next one. Our next one is trial and error, which trial and error to me is really just an algorithm. Okay, just like Cheyenne trying every single key to open up the door. All right, trial and error is really just an algorithm. This is repeated attempts to reach a goal or solution. That's all I would write in terms of my notes. That's all you really need. The next few things is just how we go through trial and error. We identify a problem. For instance, the car won't start. So we gather information. Okay, is it out of gas? Does it have a dead battery? Is there more to this? Is it more complicated than that? So we try a solution. Maybe we look at our gas meter and we see that it has plenty of gas. Okay. So we get out of the car, we try another solution. We dry off the wires to our battery, all right? And if the car starts, yay, we solved our problem. If the car doesn't start, we're gonna have to go for another solution, okay? Trial and error, simple. The last one I want to talk about for today is mean ends analysis, or working backwards, okay? Honestly, that's the definition you want, is just working backwards. This is determining the difference between current situation and a goal, and then reducing the difference by means. Ooh, that's really jargony and definitely a lot more words than you need. Working backwards. That's why I said write that one down. So, working backwards. Let me give you the example that I think is the easiest. Whenever a teacher, when you were younger, gave you a maze to work on, okay? So they said, here, solve this maze. Here's where you start. Here's where you end. Many of you probably soon figured out, probably about 4th or 5th grade, you figured out working backwards to finish this maze. See, if I start from the end and work to the beginning, it's a lot easier. Why? It's the same maze. Well, because the dead ends aren't facing you, so you know those aren't the options. When you start from the beginning, the dead ends are facing towards the route that you're going, okay? And so those become options. Therefore, it's harder. So we slowly learn that working backwards can lead us to the solution. That's why you'll see a lot of crime shows or whatever. They work backwards from the crime, the scene of the crime, and working backwards to find out the motive of the crime. All right. So that's it. That's the problem-solving strategies. All right. We will talk about problems with problem-solving strategies on Monday. We'll do another lecture, and probably on Wednesday do another lecture before you get another major assignment. So hope you guys are well. Hope everything is going good. And if you have any questions about this lecture, be sure to email me or put in our discussion posts, and I'd be happy to answer. All right, guys, have a wonderful Friday. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you again on Monday. Rivera out.
We'll give it a shot.